What's up, guys? So, I just wanted to give you guys um, just some of my thoughts on this whole charter agreement and what I think, right? I'm not going to get too deep into details or anything like that, but I do have a lot of experience uh, working with unions and all my life I've been a union man, so I have an understanding of the politics that go on behind the scenes, how negotiation, uh, good faith and bad faith, how that stuff works out. And it just seems to me like NASCAR was never really negotiating in good faith. Um, Whenever I know you've probably heard this a lot of times by now. When you have two sides and they you have an agreement, both sides walk away not getting everything they wanted. That's the mantra that you hear, right? But there's something people are not taking into account. They look at this and they say, well, both sides are not getting what everything they want. That therefore they came to an agreement and everybody should be satisfied. You're never going to get everything you want, right? Both sides are losing something, right? That's how you know it's a good negotiation. You hear stuff like that. That doesn't tell the full story because it all depends on the what both sides actually want. So here you have your middle ground, and then you got somebody on this side, somebody on that side. Well, if NASCAR is a mile to the right of that center line and the owners are maybe 100 feet away, clearly you're not really asking for the same stuff, right? So if you're already starting way to one side, meeting at a certain point doesn't mean both sides are equally losing the same thing. NASCAR's they've always had a stranglehold on the sport. And they don't want to open the books. They don't want people to really know where every nickel and dime goes and who's getting exactly what. There's a lot of other things involved where NASCAR owns a lot of these tracks, so they get a percentage from that end as well. I look at it as, the thing that generates interest in NASCAR are the drivers and the teams. That's what people want to see. That's what generates interest. That's what sells tickets. That's what gets these TV deals. Nobody goes to watch a NASCAR race or has interest in it because of the France family or this corporation that it is now NASCAR, right? Because it's not just the France family, but that's not what generates interest. And a lot of times greed takes over and the people that actually own something, they just feel more important than they really are. I get it. You own something. You have to have a certain amount of control, and you should get a certain amount of financial benefit. I get it, but when you allow greed to get in the way, and you're not really compensating people properly, right? You got to give more up, right? If you're NASCAR, um, that greed is hurting the sport, and I don't think it's the right thing. I think the people that have to give up more are NASCAR, not the owners, right? They're the ones footing the bill. They got to come all the responsibility of sponsorship deals, of all this other stuff comes from the owner's side. NASCAR, what do they actually do? It's the brand. That's all they are. It's like the name, the brand. You run under our banner. I'm sure they do something, but I think the day-to-day expenses, the cost of travel, the hiring and hiring personnel to run teams and organizations, like that's all on the ownership side, right? So they invest a lot. I think they deserve to get a little bit more. And I think NASCAR is so afraid of giving up a little extra because they look at it like, well, where does it end? It's just going to keep growing. And this is why they're just they don't want to give up that kind of leverage or control. Um, I think NASCAR is just so far to one side that whatever they gave up is just not a lot. And people have this false impression like, well, they both agreed to a deal, therefore they both lost something, they both should be equally happy and both equally disappointed. No, that's not how it works. The only thing NASCAR has actually given or agreed to any point in NASCAR history has been the charter system. It it's mind-boggling to me how there are NASCAR fans out there who don't like the charter system. I've heard all kinds of shit about, oh, they need to get rid of it. They should just have these teams show up like in the old days and qualify. And if you can make it, you make it. The best cars, blah, blah, blah. A lot of teams can't compete anymore because of the charter system. That's all bullshit. First of all, we don't live in those times anymore. Those days are gone. People don't want to come to the realization that times change. You can't continue to operate like the good old days, right? Where are all these teams that want to compete that can't because of the charter system? That whole thing is a lie. It's a lie. Anybody that wants to try to qualify, there is still a couple spots available. And there's no one out. You know how much money it takes to run and operate a NASCAR team? And sometimes multiple teams. It's countless millions. It's an insane level of money. This idea that people can build a car and hire a few people and show up to a race and qualify and really compete, that hasn't existed in generations. People have to get over that. That doesn't exist anymore. So the charter system is the only thing that gives these teams any value. Before the charter system, it was pennies on the dollar. If you had to sell, if you couldn't continue to operate as an organization in NASCAR, you lost everything. It's basically burning money. And there's only a handful of people that have been able to successfully carve out long-term success financially in NASCAR. That's these big teams. And it's just people have this ridiculous sense of reality when it comes to the finances of NASCAR, what it takes to operate and run these teams, and what does NASCAR actually do. And I've seen a lot of people make comments like, well, it's their sport. If you have to run by their rules and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's what negotiation is all about. You can't just say, well, these guys do whatever they want and you're under their banner, therefore you have to eat shit if they tell you to eat shit. That's not how life works. And that's what unions are about. They're about fighting for the working man and trying to get you a better deal, because there are two sides. Like, you have owners and then you have employees. It's more complicated than people think. And a lot of people still operate or think that things are like it was back in the 50s and 60s, and you had this small family who ran NASCAR with an iron grip, and everybody did their thing, and it's just a different world. Um, I gotta give Denny Hamlin credit. I've never been a big fan of Denny Hamlin on the track, but I agree with a lot of things he says off the track. Um, he's the only one. Him and front row. They're putting they're hanging their balls out there and exposing themselves, trying to fight the good fight when the rest of these guys folded. And that's the problem. NASCAR has these long term relationships with people like Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, right? And even Jack Roush, right? I don't know how much he's involved in RFK, but these are long term relationships, and we don't know if NASCAR on the side made promises to these guys, right? To just agree to the deal and whatever. But once you get the biggest, like Hendrick, Penske, Gibbs, and on board, that makes it that much harder for the smaller teams to fight back. Like, what can you possibly do? They got the big fish, the biggest teams on board. So that screwed everybody. Like, once the big dominoes fell, everyone else fell in line, except for Hamlin and front row. Say what you want about them. That took balls. This is a massive financial risk. And unfortunately, I don't see them being successful. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Because everyone else fell in line. They bent the knee to NASCAR. And it's just, when it comes to unions, that's what makes unions strong. It's unity, right? If everybody was on the same page, they could have fought the good fight. And they would have put NASCAR in a position where they would possibly have to open up the books. And, they could have gotten a better deal, I think. And then also, when I mentioned earlier about negotiating tactics, when NASCAR gives you a deadline and like you have to agree to this by this point, and you got a stack like this of, you got nobody's gonna read through all that stuff and then in overnight and then come up with like I'm gonna agree or disagree. And like a lot of people have already stated, a lot of these owners are tired of fighting this fight. They've been going at this for a long time. NASCAR waited them out and called their bluff, and they made them bend the knee. And the thing that I don't like, I saw this, I don't remember where I saw this, but Rick Hendrick had the balls to say that if Hamlin and front row were successful in getting a better deal, that he expected everyone to also get that deal. That takes a lot of fucking balls, man. That takes a lot of balls. That you agreed, you bent the knee to NASCAR, you went along with whatever, and then now you're saying, well, if these smaller teams are successful in any way to carve out even a slightly better deal, that you expect everyone to get that. Fuck you, man. Go fuck yourself. This is the balls of these fucking people, man. These people are delusional. Now, I don't think NASCAR, I don't see Hamlin succeeding or front row. It's just there's not enough people on board. You have to be all united. I've talked about this before. And I think if all these owners were willing to stand together, they could really force NASCAR to capitulate. NASCAR doesn't want to lose money. Like I said, what does NASCAR actually do? It's these owners that spend most of the money to run these races week after week. And that's what people come to see. They come to see these race teams and these drivers. They don't come to because of the France family or NASCAR ownership. Um, they have to keep that in mind, and they have to understand that they are the ones selling tickets, not NASCAR. NASCAR is a brand, and it's a shame to me that I'm actually surprised that most of these guys just folded. They just folded, and NASCAR is holding that charter system over their heads. I think NASCAR regrets agreeing to that charter system. I think ever since that charter system gave these teams a little extra value, which they deserve, I think they regret it. I think they want to have complete and full control over these people, and it's a shame. Like, now they're going to constantly hold this charter system over their heads and use it as leverage to threaten these teams to go along with whatever agreements they come up with. And unless these owners all band together and are willing to stick together, they're never gonna be fully compensated for what they bring to the sport. And this fan base, I have to say, not everyone, but for the most part, I see a lot of people actually siding with NASCAR. There's this idea that, well, they own it. You know, these guys agree to an agreement. They have to do whatever the fuck they're told. And if they don't like it, they can go kick rocks. And there's people actually hoping that 2311 and Front Row end up getting fucking just completely pushed out of the sport. And unfortunately, that's the mentality of a lot of people in this country. They don't actually side with the working man. They somehow, some way have been brainwashed into, it's like Stockholm syndrome. They side with these corporations. They side with, like, the big man, right? The owners, the wealthy people. I don't mean the car owners, but like even the people running NASCAR. It's like, you know, I'm a working man. I look at it from the point of view of the working class versus the people at the top. They continue to get more. The working class gets less, and they keep squeezing you for everything. And it's a shame. Once Hendrick and Gibbs and Penske folded, it's over. And I do believe they got, like, I'm not going to say they got side deals, but I think NASCAR definitely made promises to them. Like, I don't know. But kudos to Hamlin. Kudos to Hamlin. Like I said, I'm not a Hamlin fan. You guys know that. But I will always side with somebody trying to do the right thing and trying to fight the good fight. He's doing the right thing. And I hope that maybe, it probably won't happen, but if they can force NASCAR to open the books, that's going to be, NASCAR's going to do everything in their power to avoid that. It doesn't benefit NASCAR at all. It's a shame that to see so many NASCAR fans that are actually rooting against Hamlin, 2311, Front Row. They're the only ones who showed any fucking balls. And it's not easy. These people have invested a lot into these teams and the future. And they got left out. They got left out by themselves, to hang by themselves, by all these other teams who folded. And that's what happens when you get the Hendricks and the Gibbs and the Penskes to just say, okay, we're agreeing to this. Then the smaller teams, they're under pressure. They're like, well, all the big teams signed. You know what? We can't win this. Let's just fucking agree to it and get it over with. It's a shame. It's a shame. If they had any real unity, they could force NASCAR, or they could just say, hey, we're going to go start our own stock car racing league. They can do it. I talked about this earlier this year, and there's there's a lot of tracks obviously that would be off the schedule because they're NASCAR owned, but they would really crush NASCAR. NASCAR does not exist without the names, right? The drivers, the teams. That's what people want to see. Not they don't care about the NASCAR brand, right? But unless you're willing to fight the fight and force their hand, it's a shame. So those are my thoughts on this right now. I don't think Hamlin or Front Row is going to have any success. They don't have enough people. And it's all about unity. You got to have numbers on your side. And everyone else signed, leaving these guys out in the lurch. But kudos to Denny Hamlin, 2311, and Front Row. They deserve credit. They got balls, and I don't think it's going to end well for them. I'm rooting for them, but those are my thoughts on that. And to the people that are like, I hope that the charters go away and go back to the old day. You guys got to wake up, man. Stop being delusional. It's 2024. The old days of these cars, all these people showing up to a race and qualifying. It's like, where are all these people? Do you understand how expensive it is just to own and operate a team? And then you think that there's all of a sudden going to be all these people showing up to qualify, to compete at the top level of NASCAR, and then grow up. It's delusional thinking. This charter system is what's needed in modern times. It's the only thing these people have of any value. Before this, it was pennies on the dollar on equipment and their fucking shop if they had to fold. It's when you invest that much time and money into the sport, you deserve to be compensated. And it's sad and embarrassing to see so many Americans, right, who pretend that they care about the working class and they don't. Because when it comes down to it, they always capitulate to the people up top. Like I said, it's like Stockholm Syndrome. I've read it in many comment sections and in Twitter and all that, and you see people like, oh, screw Denny Hamlin, screw these guys. They should have agreed to it and blah, blah, blah. They deserve to get kicked out. I hope they lose their charter. It's like, it's embarrassing. It's a disgrace that you root against the working class. That you're rooting in favor of the corporations, the corporate entity that is holding these people hostage. Now, yeah, I know it's their fucking money. They can leave if they don't like it and blah, blah, blah. If that's the world you want to live in, you're always going to be, you're always going to eat shit. It's embarrassing. But, yeah, those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments later.